105,000 subscribers and shooting over 70 million views, making Third Phase of Moon the top place to go to report your UFO sightings, submit your videos, your photos, and report your testimony. And we're taking your calls in live right here at Third Phase of Moon. And if you want to speak to Third Phase, the number to call in is 1-347-934-0378. We're going straight to Los Angeles, taking calls live from Adam. Welcome to the show, Adam.
How's it going?
Doing good, doing good. Can you tell us what city you're calling from and what stories do you want to share right here live on Third Phase?
I'm calling from California, Southern California, over here at Mission Viejo, California.
Great. So we're right here at Third Phase. We have this weekly show Fridays, 6 p.m. Pacific time, to take your testimony. What do you want to share to our viewers and listeners right now live?
I'm familiar with all the sightings and all the material that's been out being disclosed. There's like all the video streams and all the witness testimonies that I've seen. Personally, I've seen one with a group of friends, and it was pretty strange too. It was reported off of here over at El Toro military base. It was reported on the radio. We had a friend that reported or called us and told us that there was something flying over, and like me and like three of my friends, actually, we all got a chance to go outside, and we saw this thing fly over the house, and it made like no noise. It was a bluish, had like an LED type of light, a luminescence to it. Like it had had no sound whatsoever. It just kind of glided over, and we all saw it together, which was pretty cool. It wasn't just like me by myself. It was like me with some friends, So it was pretty cool to see something like that. We couldn't explain it too, which was really weird. And
what was the reaction? What was the reaction with your at the time you were witnessing the UFO? Were you guys excited? Was it kind of like a eureka moment?
Yeah, it was definitely awkward. It was something we haven't seen before, and we all got pretty excited about it. And it was pretty cool because our friend called us and let us know that there was a unidentified flying object flying over the base from El Toro military base. They're not around anymore now. It's in Camp Pendleton, but it was just strange. It was definitely a vehicle of some kind, and it just kind of glided right over the house. It made no sound, which was really strange. It had and you could feel like a static electric. It was definitely like some type of something, and it had a bluish glow to it, which was really strange too. And it just went right over the house. And
Was there any any video shot by any of you or your friends of the object?
No, we never got a chance to get our cameras out for it. But
the way you explain it to me is we get videos from around the world, and there are quite a bit of UFO sightings, and the bluish orbish kind of looking UFO in the night sky, not making any sounds whatsoever, coming from military bases to be exact. So it's an interesting story that you're sharing right here at Third Phase of Moon. Adam, stand by. We're taking more calls from around the world. 650. Okay. Welcome to Third Phase of Moon, and what city and state are you calling from?
Pacific, California. How's it going, Blake?
Do you have anything you want to share with the viewers at Third Phase of Moon live right now?
Sure. Just wanted to let you guys know that we're still getting at least 5 to 7 alien ships coming into our system on a daily basis, all off the Soho Lasco 2 and Lasco 3 images. So that's just to back up most of what a lot of these people are saying. If they're seeing this stuff, these ships are coming into our system on a daily basis.
Most definitely. Bob, are you aware of the new information that came out about Area 51 now being declassified? Do you know anything about Area 51? I know you do a lot of work with the Soho imagery very diligently. Do you try and delve into the Area 51 story, and what do you think of its declassification?
It's just about time. It's kind of like, duh, like we didn't know it was there. But yeah, They're slowly letting things leak out. I think it's all to a plan of some sort. Exactly what it is, we have no idea right now. Maybe declassification of the aliens coming into our system. Maybe some kind of an official announcement. Who knows?
What's interesting, more information came out of Japan just recently, and it's not very pleasant, with over 100,000 tons of wastewater leaking into the Pacific. Basically, people are saying that possibly in the next 10 years, the Pacific Ocean altogether and its fish life is going to be irrelevant and dead, and this is quite shocking news coming out. And what's funny is the Japanese workers right there on the scene at the Fukushima power plant, I think in Prefecture Number 1, is
yes.
It's being haunted by spirits, and every time they're trying to fix it, the ghost, the Obaki of Japan, as they say, haunt the power plant, which is quite interesting. Bob, stick around. Yeah. We're taking more calls from around the world live right here at Third Phase. Yep, Bob, 818. Welcome to Third Phase.
Welcome, Blake. This is Dr. J.
Dr. J. Andy Life, I know you've been following closely the Fukushima incident. What do you think of the hauntings? We hear a lot of UFO sightings like shortly after the tsunami itself.
Well, there's two major things to go with that, especially with all that we've been bombarded here at Third Phase of Moon and Third Phase of Moon Radio. It seems to be there's an apparent link between these spirits and UFOs. Some people even say that they're, once you cross that dimension, you're able to go through both. So it's very possible that they're scaring these workers off because that Fukushima plant could very well be the downfall of this planet, per se. If the facts are true, and this can destroy the entire Pacific Ocean with all the living creatures in it, which we humans sustain our lives from, then this very well could be the pivoting point. And the second thing I must say is through every entire disaster, through history, going back to even when Columbus discovered the new land, the Pompeii, there have been sightings of UFOs watching it. Even during 9/11, there seems to be a UFO in the corner watching the towers collapse. So it's not very shocking that something is watching the Fukushima plant, because that's a pivoting point in our life's history.
Yes, it is.
Also, the Area 51 disclosure, Dr. J, I know it's going to be hard to get inside there. They're saying now even the president still really isn't allowed over there, even if he really wanted to. So basically, the disclosure doesn't, like Bob was saying earlier, is basically we already knew this, and it's unfortunate that things aren't going to be changing here anytime shortly.
There's a few things for that. Sadly, there was a couple men that were killed. Basically, if everyone read the stories, they dug these football field-size holes and threw in these exotic parts and exotic liquids and exotic chemicals, dumped jet fuel over them, and these people who inhaled the fumes have died. Over the years, people who have sued to get compensation for the ones that have died for their families or the ones that are sick and dying in the hospital, they were denied repeatedly by our government a right for a fair trial because they did not acknowledge the base. Even though Popular Mechanics ran a Soviet satellite photograph of Area 51 over 20 years ago. I mean, this is just like Bob said. It's a no-brainer. It was there. And when you go there, there's a big sign. It says military installation. Trespass equals deadly force. It says military installation. So for them to come forward and say it's like thumbing their nose at us, by not doing it 20, 30 years ago when they probably should have.
We're getting comments coming in on the Flash Chat Live. The Encarter Warrior says, it's very bad news about Fukushima, and it's a worldwide concern. Why isn't the whole world taking action to stop the disaster happening live? They're just not controlling what's happening at Fukushima. Maybe the leakage and the declassification of Area 51 is a reason. We at Third Phase of Moon, just days before the leak, we're speaking about Area 51 and possible new information coming out from Snowden, Area 51, and right after that, immediately, things happened. And the NSA, we're bringing up all this, and then 2 days later, it's out. We're taking more calls from around the world. Welcome to Third Phase of Moon.
What did he say?
Area code 111, you're on.
I'm not your daddy. I'm not.
Some kind of spectator gone wrong, seriously, in the brain. Now, the religious action going on over there in Egypt and Syria, you know, the natural disasters combined, they can't be contained. And is there going to be any alien intervention that's going to start to possibly put this Earth back together? Because it's pretty much falling apart right now. And what's going
over
on
in Egypt? Over in Egypt,
yep.
You can forget it.
I would really like to say that they can, Blake, but at the same time, sadly, from what we hear, is there's this galactic rule where they're not supposed to interfere with our development per se. And then that doesn't make sense in some way because they're just observing us, screwing things up, but I guess they can't invade with our free will and our choice because that's a violation of some ethical, moral rule that extends beyond the galaxy throughout the universe, that if we're going to destroy our own planet, then their job is to just create a Noah's Ark by collecting DNA and being able to start all over again. Now, how can we confirm this? We don't know. Do we have an alien to speak to? We don't know. But Third Phase of the Moon is very connected with all these sorts of people, and we've kind of heard repeatedly the same thing from people such as Dr. Greer, Dr. Lear, Stanton Friedman. The list goes on and on of people who have said such a thing. And the Syria thing is something to be very, very worried about, because that is the Holy Land. Right there is where everything started. Everything in the good Bible, you know, the stories from 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 years ago, the Sumerian culture, all of that is located in there. And to be at the civil unrest it is, the president of Syria using chemical weapons on his own people, and the U.S. staying aside is big news on the world. As you know, we had Jaime Maussan on yesterday, and he told us that here in America, the journalists are very different than outside the U.S. because they're afraid to say things because they'll either be in trouble or their network won't let them, or for whatever reason, and based also on CIA declassified documents that they allowed to cut a story to prevent it from being aired or to deny it, for that matter. So all these things happening at once, Blake, it seems like we do need some intervention.
Well, the Muslim Brotherhood over there wanted to get back in power. They're going around and destroying the ancient history, the artwork. They plan on taking out the pyramids. Good luck with that. Those are pretty heavy-duty structures that I don't think are going to be taken down so easily. But imagine the history being taken out. It's absolutely a sad thing, and we hopefully something happens over there in a better way. And the Muslim Brotherhood, I don't think, should be part of what's going on over there, because actions are getting a bit crazy. Hey, we're taking calls. I'm just saying a few things, some of my opinions, but we'll get back to more people calling in from around the world.
Just like you said, I think the planet, and I think everything in our government, everybody needs a big intervention, and I think it's bound to happen eventually. Something's got to happen. So, you know, and it's got to be a peaceful. It's got to be, our intentions have to be peaceful, I would believe, you know, and it has to, you know, you got to look at the intentions and then the people in power, you know. I mean, it seems like doesn't seem like it's too fair, you know, with everything, and then keeping people withholding information. It's just crazy. It's out of control. But I think, like, I agree with what the other guy was saying, that we should have an intervention.
More chat comes in. The Encarta Warrior says this information that we just released on Third Phase about the 100,000 tons of radiated water. Basically, if you get in contact with this, apparently it's like in one day you'll get 5 years of radiation poisoning that you would have got at Chernobyl the day after in just one day. That's how bad this stuff is. And basically, it was blacked out in the news, and the big shots aren't talking about it, and they don't want it to affect their bonuses. Interesting conversation coming in. More calls coming in. Area code 352.
Hey, how you doing?
Calling from.
Hey, you guys are talking about Japan right now, huh? I wanted to tell you about a UFO I saw.
Certainly. Let's get to it.
All right. Back in 09, March of 09, I'm standing in the street. My wife works till about 10 o'clock at night, so it was probably like 9 o'clock or 9:30. I'm out there. It's dark. I see on the horizon, it looks like two stars. And I think to myself, man, them stars are pretty low. And I've never noticed them. And it was in the east. And next thing I know, they kind of twinkle and they catch your eye, and they're coming at me faster and faster. Next thing I think, well, they're not stars, it's a pair of helicopters. And then as quick as my mind could think helicopters, I hear two kids coming up behind me. And now I'm thinking, you know those things at the mall where they shoot the spotlight up in the sky? Well, we can see, now these two kids are behind me, so I got two other people with me. I asked them, you guys see what I'm seeing? And they say, yep. And they go, what is it? And I go, I don't know, don't blink. And all of a sudden, I'm thinking first helicopters, then I'm thinking those big lights, the big beams of light, because now we can see beams of light coming through the sky. These lights are getting bigger and bigger. I'm thinking, well, a helicopter can't carry a light that big. And then all of a sudden, this one girl, she says, I hope it don't stop. And next thing you know, it's all the way up on us. These things are 50 foot big, the lights, 300 feet apart. And I can say this because it stopped on the corner of my street above these three houses, and they're about 100 feet of property each. So that's how I'm figuring 300 feet. And we couldn't see nothing in between the two lights, but we could see the beams going through the sky, and it was right in front of us, and we couldn't see it. And then all of a sudden, the two headlights turned off, and a dozen other lights turned on, and they were all touching, and they were all about 45 or 50 foot round, and they were all touching each other, and they were all different colors, so they were pale. And then those lights rotated in different directions and turned different colors, and it just blinked out, disappeared. We talked about it for a minute or two, and the one girl says, well, that guy in the airplane, there was a small Cessna coming up from the other direction. He had to see it too. Next day, I go to the airport. Of course, they ain't telling me nothing, you know. But, you know, I didn't think about it for a few months, and those two girls, you know, it's 5 years later now, 4 years later now, they're like 19 and 20. The one I see, and she talks about it all the time, just like I do. The other one moved to Michigan. But incredible. So here it goes. A few months go by. I put it on the internet. I guess it was a MUFON site. Did you put the video on the internet? What?
Did you put the video on the internet?
No, I didn't have a video.
Okay, go ahead. Yep.
And so there's no video, no pictures. I just put my story. I put my story on there. What we saw, and
the story that you're explaining right now
about the UFO, and so for months it's on there for about a month, and then I look again and it's gone. So I rewrite it and I go to hit enter, and my telephone rings. People from Tampa are calling me saying they want me in, that the kids come down and talk to them at MUFON or something, but they don't want to have it on the internet. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, nah. And this lady talked to me for like 45 minutes, and I'm like, after I hung up, I realized, how did she get my phone number? You know, they got it off my computer. I was freaked.
Wow.
My sister's married to a judge, and she said, do not go talk to those people. You know, I'm just saying that was weird. Even them calling me on the phone was even weirder. But the UFO
was, sounds to me, Blake,
it was huge. What?
This sounds like a case of Men in Black. It sounds like they had access to your computer. It sounds the moment you started talking about your sighting, they wanted to know what you knew, and this is very apparent.
They were, and when I was just about to hit enter, my telephone rings. It was like they watched me type the whole damn thing on there because I'm a slow typer. It took me a while to type it all up and get it on there. And I exact word for word the same way I wrote it the first time, because when you see something like that, it don't change, you know. And the conversations me and the kids had, that, well, the few sentences we talked, because it lasted only less than around a minute. If you were looking in another direction, you wouldn't have seen it.
Let me ask you this: the beams that were coming down off the ship,
they weren't coming down. They were shooting straight through the sky, right over the top of the houses.
So
it was pointed to the west. I live pretty close to the Gulf. It was the lights were pointed right to the Gulf. It was like we could see them beams of light, like you see in front of an airplane or something. How it only shoots out looks like only 50 feet or so. But. And yeah, I do have airports around me, and it's
you said you spoke with an eyewitness years later, and you guys still have and recall the memory.
Oh yeah, the girl lives right 5 houses down. At the time,
exactly what state was and what time?
This is Florida, Spring Hill, Florida.
And around what time in the evening?
It was about 9 o'clock at night, 9:15 or something. It was, pretty early. But it was dark out. It was really dark.
What month was it?
In March. That's my... And I'll tell you, man, I drew so many pictures. It was like Close Encounters, where, he's making all them clay models and dirt models.
Wow.
It was like every time my grandkids would come over and start cutting the coloring books, I would start putting UFOs in there. And they'd be like, "Oh, not again, Granddad. That's not real. It's in your imagination," she would say. And I'd go, "No, it's not."
It almost sounds like the movie, as you explain it to me, the visual concept was captured beautifully by Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters. And there were some moments. Do they seem similar, some of the craft that were created for that movie?
I didn't see no. I've never seen nothing like it. I've never seen... that's why I've never really got on the internet and started looking at all this UFO stuff until I saw this one. It was like... And I didn't see the frame. I don't know what the shape of it was. All I can tell you is if you take like anything round and draw six circles on top and 6 circles on the bottom and have them all touching and color them all different colors, that's what it looked like. And put a pair of headlights underneath on the bottom of it. And they were all 50. These circles had to be 50-foot round. I think about how big the properties are at the end of my street. You got 3 houses, and they're all about 100-foot long. And you're like, that was big. And it was right above the houses, right above their trees.
What was your thoughts when you found out this week that CIA acknowledged that Area 51 exists?
I thought that was all right. I think my dad worked there when I was a kid. When I was a kid, my dad worked in radar at Selfridge Field in Michigan, and he would disappear for months at a time, and he'd say he's going to White Sands, New Mexico.
Absolutely incredible. Did he ever say, in detail what he did in White Sands?
No. When I'd go to work with him sometimes as a kid to Selfridge Air Force Base, and they'd worked on missiles and radar systems, and I got to go in a missile. That was pretty cool. It's like you get on a dolly and it can slide right up through the middle of the missile. But seeing a UFO, that was something.
Sounds a little bit like when you're saying on the missile or in the missile, Dr. Strangelove had that classic moment, but in a different way. I want to ask you, do you think there was a connection between your dad and and Area 51? Like you say, he may have worked there on location.
I don't know. We don't know what he did when he went there. We don't know nothing about the White Sands stuff, because he didn't tell us what he did. He just said it was training. But here he was the boss. He was at the base. He had somebody above him, but he was a civilian. A civilian with all these military guys working under him. So I don't know what he really did. He was radar. That's all he said.
everything extraterrestrial out of Area 51 into another base that we're either unaware of completely or one that we've possibly heard rumors of, such as Dulce, New Mexico, and now maybe it just is a top secret Air Force installation with some test aircraft. But I truly think that there's no extraterrestrial material there anymore is the key word. I think there was extraterrestrial material there for decades, but now I think it's gone.
We're running out of time right here on Third Phase of the Moon. It's been a pleasure having Dr. Jandy Elias, Adam calling in from Los Angeles, Robert Evans sharing his Soho imagery, and we are the top UFO channel. If anybody's captured anything in regards to UFOs, you can contact